Really got to sort out my seating, haven't I? But either way, here I am, here you are, back in my kind of like place where I do things. And I've been asked to do a bit of a task for someone. Because this is what I do, right? I read tarot for a living. And sometimes I get people asking some particular types of inquiry. And once in a while, it actually comes out here on the internet in the form of a video on this one particular channel. So there is going to come a time when I'm going to be opening up to be able to do readings for people. There will be a subscription, but on the other hand, it won't be all that much. And you'll be able to ask me questions and I'll be able to answer them, publicly to whoever's subscribed, and that's the way it'll be. And today is a bit of a challenge because when I did a previous video and I did that little survey of the various different tarot packs that are out there that I happen to have on my little shelves downstairs, someone spotted that I had the Alchemy Tarot. Now this is a weird tarot deck. The artistry is a bit kind of like heavy metal. It's got this kind of like strangely tattoo art and very slightly fake, sort of almost satanic fiction kind of appearance to it. And of course the skull art on the back of the cards is also rather curious in its own right. So in some respects it's got this feeling of immaturity. Alchemy, I understand, are a variety of sort of like art house, and what they do is they like to have that kind of macabre, fun, sort of like Halloween-y kind of theme to what it is they do and how they do things. And eventually they decided to do a tarot pack, and some of the cards that I've seen here I've actually seen on posters in friends' bedrooms when I was a teenager. So these things are just kind of like, out there, this style. And I think it's become probably growing a bit more popular as people who were teenagers then are now sort of becoming adults and being a bit more nostalgic. So that's why we're doing a tarot reading with the Alchemy Tarot today. So here we go. To this one particular inquirer, she asked a very simple question. And this is about her and her boyfriend. Well, actually it's the ex-boyfriend, because what happened is they didn't quite get on. There was a time when they were together, things went all right, then essentially a few cracks started to appear. There were some arguments, there was a bit of friction between the two of them, and it started to get a bit difficult, for want of a better phrase. So they stopped seeing each other for a time, still communicated socially and affectionately, but there was just this feeling of, what's going on there on both sides of things from what she was telling me. Okay, so now I just got to see whether there's a chance that they're going to reconcile, they're going to get back together again. Alright, because I want to keep this relatively, anonymous, I'm calling her Jane and I'm calling him Jim. Alright, she actually knows, she's watching this probably right now, she knows who I'm talking to and who I'm talking about, so don't worry about that. It's just those are the names we're going to use today in order to try and symbolise who they are, Jane and Jim. Alright, so here we go. What I'm going to do today is just a very simple, very standard tarot spread, the kind of thing I would normally do. I do this every day working on the telephone, and there'll be one card there which symbolises some kind of energy between the two people. Then we got two for the inquirer, and we got two for the one we're talking about today, the other person. And then we'll have a quick look, short-term, medium-term and long-term future. Now I do hope the camera angle's okay for you today, so you get some kind of feeling as to what's really, so you can see both the designs of the cards, which I think are quite fun, as well as to be able to see me. I don't know. So I don't tend to rehearse anything that I do here, just, you get what you're given basically. Right, so we got some reversals, we got some upright. When you got cards which are reversed, that adds an extra sort of like spice, a little bit of extra meaning to it. So you don't just have 78 cards in a deck, you've got twice that basically. But it's not just a question of the cards themselves, it's also a question of the feelings that I'm getting and the thoughts and my contemplations based upon what's really been going on there. Alright, as far as the relationship is concerned, as far as what she said to me is concerned, and so on and so forth. And of course my own basic knowledge. Right. Feeling of love, but with a strange sense of bitterness there. they are still very much emotionally connected. And I feel this is one of those times when the anger itself is in some respects symptomatic or connected to the feeling of passion that they've got for each other. The anger they've got between the two of them, that kind of like wall of resistance, alright, that's there for a good reason, because there are things that they both have to learn about if they're to overcome their problems, and they're going to connect in a much more real and much more affectionate way, and therefore to overcome problems and to become much more emotionally connected. This is not a broken relationship. Okay, they're not seeing each other, they're not talking to each other, but it's not a broken relationship. Straight out the bat, we're seeing where the problems are, and we're also seeing opportunities for there to be some solutions. Okay, it's just a question of like digging deeper with the thinking, with the communication, so they can overcome problems and then sort of like find a way of getting back together again. This is what this particular card reading is essentially implying. Now, on her side of things, Jane, what have we got here? Knight of Wands, reversed. Ten of Cups. Usually a symbol of fullness, wealth, prosperity of the heart and of the mind, and a sense of everything is okay. It's normally a very good sign. There may be the lower numbers speak about an eventual movement in that direction, much more to do with hope. But when you got number 10, that's more to do with you're pretty much there. You've gone through various different stages. She's still very much in love with him. She still wants it to work out right. That's why she's the inquirer. That's why she is inquiring whether they're going to go back together again. But it's being proven, again, in its own little way by the card reading and the nature of the card reading itself. But she has a desire to attack. The sword suit in tarot refers to conflicts. You've got coins talking about commerce. You've got cups talking about conviviality. You've got staves talking about sports, okay, recreation. And then you've got swords, which talks about conflict. She has a desire to conflict. She has a desire to reach out and attack. I'm concerned about you, madam. I'm concerned about where you're coming from, and I'm concerned about what it is you want to say to him for the purposes of trying to solve the problems. Part of the issues here rests with you. Okay, that's what it's saying. But, as we've already seen, your partner still loves you. Jim still loves Jane. Alright, he's still got feelings there. On his side of things, we don't have mages, we don't have court cards. It's there for a much more gentle message. Bit of a feeling of defensiveness, desire for stability. Four of Discs often speaks about stability, protection, wholesomeness, practicality. And the 7 pip card there can be interpreted as a desire for good luck. But there's a feeling of reservation there, there's a caveat there. They've both got boundaries, and those boundaries are not meshing right. I don't think they've talked properly about what is important. I don't think they've talked properly about what it means to make a relationship. I feel a lot of the communication has been subtle. There has been a sense of passion and interconnection. There's been some sexual activities going on between the two of them. They've probably shared and exchanged in that way. But where has the right thinking been during the time they've been together? Some of it's been there because they've had history. They've been together for a while. But then, there was a time when things started to get a bit ropey. I feel that the history of the problems goes back a long way. I feel that there's lots of thinking between the two of them which has been causing the problems, and it's been making it more and more complicated, and they haven't actually been resolving it, and therefore it's built up to a head, and that's what's caused the breakup. And some of it is due to the issues of boundaries. Because good boundaries in a good relationship is what's important. And there isn't that feeling of it being understood. There isn't that feeling coming out in the reading, in the conversation I've had with her previously, of there being a solution being provided, or indeed a proactive attempt to create solution. Instead, it's more a question of demands. Now, moving into the future. First 3-month period, there will be attempts on both sides of things to try and make some kind of progress occur. But none of the signs in the future are heavy in terms of proper communication. There's no feeling there of making it happen. This is the problem. Jane, you've got a job to do, and you've got to move outside of your comfort zone. Because if things are the way they stand at the moment, you're not going to get the progress you want. The attempts will be there in the short-term future, but we don't have a transition period onto something much, much more amazing and dramatic. Instead, the Earth energy is much more to do with accepting things the way they are, rather than trying to create change. I don't think you can allow this to carry on in this particular form. I think you've got to do something about it, and I think you've got to try and help this relationship to move forward. Think about what I mentioned earlier on. Boundaries are important, and also the discussion of boundaries are important too. The suit of staves can sometimes be used to define or describe communication. Let's be honest, sport is a way in which we do communicate sometimes. Okay? You see the game last night? Yeah. Whatever. It's talking about, not talking about football, but talking about talking, an exchange, getting an opinion. You've got the power to be able to make it work right. And I believe you can do it. It's just a question of whether you're going to be brave in that 3-month period to take the right action, to be able to make that transformation occur for yourself and get things up off the ground and running so you can achieve the things you need to. Thanks for watching.